Welcome to The Squeeze. I'm Tony Pasquazi. This here is Frankie Bacalars, and we are here with MIAC Player of the Week, senior goaltender for your women's hockey team, Ary Ziakas. Ary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, how could we not pass up on the opportunity? We just had Raheem on the show, so we had to get the other Player of the Week on. How did you find out that you were MIAC Player of the Week this past weekend?
I'm a huge Twitter user, and I have tweet notifications on for when Donnie tweets. So I got the notification that he tweeted something, but I was in class, so I didn't look at it. And then our team group me tagged me, so I got like a little mention from that, and that's how I found out, was my teammates telling me. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, 3 years ago, did you ever think you'd have 2 games in a row with 56 saves, give up no goals, and get my Player of the Week? I mean, that doesn't happen
Not
very
at all.
often.
Not at all. I never even thought about that. That was just like a kind of a bonus if it happened.
Yeah. And then that first game against St. Scholastica, we talked about it on the show, but that was planned, right? You were supposed to just play the first half, and then Jordan Keeley would come in the second.
Correct. It was non-conference, and at the time, we kind of assumed that the NCAA tournament would be canceled. So that game, like, literally meant nothing other than a learning opportunity for everybody. And it had been over 300 days since our last game. So our coach was like, let's just have everybody play. Let's get back into game shape and everybody get up to speed. So.
And then the second game against Concordia, actually the only MIAC action of the weekend, you guys came out with a tie, and you were outshot by 20 shots. You went all the way into overtime. You played all, 65 minutes of the game. So what was it? Like, were you in the Matrix and you just saw all the pucks coming a lot slower than you normally do? Or like how did you perform so well over the weekend?
So it's actually funny that you ask. When we went out for warm-ups, I was not seeing the puck well at all. Like I wasn't catching anything. I was just letting in goals that I wouldn't normally, but it's warm-ups, so I didn't really care. And I got off the ice, and before our coach came in and kind of gave us our pregame talk, I took a racquetball and I just threw it against the wall, and I watched it in. Like I watched it into my glove, I watched it into my blocker, and that was just the whole goal, was to like keep my eyes warm and get them more warm than what they were. So after I did that, I went in and I was like, okay, it's just another game. Like, do what you normally do, be confident, do what you got to do, like just be the best. So that's kind of how I went into the game, and it definitely carried over each period.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me to my question. So when obviously you're coming off a great game and a half, when for the rest of your games, are you going to kind of take it as a clean slate and start over and just kind of reset yourself? Or are you going to like take the momentum from those games and use it to help you maybe get more shutouts?
Definitely both. So I take the confidence that I have from the good game that I just had, and I bring it into the next, saying, okay, I just had this game. Like, let's stay confident. Let's be confident through the whole game and be consistent. But then each game I also go in with a clean slate of, okay, yeah, I just had a really good game against Concordia. That's not a given against Hamlin. So I have to kind of have to reset myself, but I also go in with that momentum from the last, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, obviously, I don't know much about being a hockey goalie, but like, I can imagine it's such like a head game, like being like, you just got to like kind of reset yourself sometimes and take a deep breath.
Definitely. One of my favorite things to do, and something that I learned from just older mentors throughout my hockey years, is I have a 3-second rule. So if I were to let in a goal, I have 3 seconds to be as hard as I possibly can on myself. Like, I generally say, you're awful, you suck, like, why are you even playing this sport? But then after those 3 seconds, I just reset and I say, all right, like, it's a new face-off. Who cares? It went in, fix it, be better.
Yeah, and there's always this kind of, I don't know, conversation of what's the toughest position in sports. And oftentimes it's quarterback in football, or it's pitcher in baseball. And then you have, goaltender in hockey. So I don't know if you hold that opinion. I would assume you do. But if you do hold that opinion, what's your pitch for why a hockey goaltender is the toughest position in sports?
I kind of have like an indifferent opinion on that. I do think it's a hard sport or a hard position in the sport, but I'm also biased because I play it. Um, I think it's hard because a lot of goalies aren't recognized. Like we're only recognized if we make a mistake because our mistake goes up on the scoreboard. Where if a forward turns over the puck in one of in the offensive zone or the neutral zone, it's, oh, okay, well, there's 4 other people on the ice. But I'm the last line of defense, or my goalie partners are the last line of defense. So if we make a small mistake, it could cost us the game, where it doesn't really appear that way for any other position on the ice. So that's the way that I think about it. It's definitely a mental game, and you have to have a short memory.
Yeah, and then I've also always wondered, is it a natural thing? Like, were you born with just lightning fast reflexes? Or is there a way to manufacture and get better at, reacting quickly to a puck that's going, X miles an hour?
So they make this, it's called a reaction ball. It's like the size of probably a softball, and it has like little humps all around it. So me and my goalie partners generally use those, and you throw it against a wall and it takes a weird bounce. And that's how you gain reaction skills, or you better your reaction skills. It also helps just being athletic in general. Like I like to say that I'm a really athletic person just because you put me in a different sport and I can like do okay. Where if you were to take a non-athletic person and put them at goalie, it kind of hinders them in a sense where I don't really know how to explain it. Like they just aren't reactive and they aren't as quick as they should be. But that's when you take in the reaction ball and you better your skills.
I feel like my back would just hurt so bad being a goalie. Like I see like the position that you guys are in for like 60 minutes and it's 65 the past weekend. And like, it hurts my back just thinking about it. Like, how is that? Does that hurt?
Back? No, actually, you'd be surprised. It's more your hips and your knees that kind of get crunched.
Yeah.
Especially if you have to make a super weird save. You're
Right.
just like, you're kind of like in a pretzel. So I would say that my hips and my knees are definitely the spots that hurt the worst.
You're going to feel it in about 20 years.
Absolutely. But I don't feel it already.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
But something that I've never really been a hockey guy. I've never really, sat down and watched a whole NHL season or anything like that. But I have been recently because I've been doing the broadcasts for the games and stuff. And when you're up there, when you're watching hockey, you look at the goaltenders and your first thought is always, how did he not, or how did she not make that save? But then you realize what you just said, which is I'm hurting. like I'm tired, I'm hurting, and I just have to grind through this. So like maybe what's the hardest game that you've ever been through where that grind was, nearly next to impossible, and maybe how you got through that or didn't?
It was definitely last year when we played against Hamlin and I made 54 saves. In the moment, my adrenaline was so high that I was like, okay, like let's keep going. Like I want to play another period, but we were already done in overtime. So I took it for what it was worth. And then we went for dinner and my coach was like, how's your body feeling? I was like, I'm okay. But then he asked me again in about 30 minutes, like when all of the adrenaline was off, and it hurt pretty bad to move. I was like, this is awful. Why do I hurt so bad? But it was because I had been a pretzel the entire game for 54 saves.
Oh, yeah. And then you mentioned coaching. I think every senior at St. Mary's, if you're an athlete, you've been through a coaching change at this point. I think literally everyone. So we really should ask this to more athletes, but how was that transition from Coach Moore to Coach Murray? How did that go?
So we all called him Gmo, and Gmo was the reason that I came to St. Mary's. He cared about me as a person. So when he left, it was kind of hard on a lot of us just because he was like that dad figure that we all had. And having Sarah, we were all super excited because she's a female coach. And me personally, she's my first female coach. So that was definitely an adjustment, but a good adjustment. We kind of have been known for not having a super solid team culture. So having Sarah come in and actually run the team and say, these are the rules. If you don't follow them, then you're going to be punished. So I liked that sense because it's we're way more structured than we ever were. And it's a good structure. Like we look really good, and we're excited to see what Sarah can continue to do for the program.
Yeah, and you bring up female coach, and over the weekend, the Buccaneers and who else played? The Chiefs played in the Super Bowl, and you heard a lot about the Buccaneers and their coaching staff and how it's a lot of minority coaches. And I did a report for my journalism class just last semester on coaching diversity in the MIAC, and it isn't very good. But part of the thing that I was missing was hearing from athletes how important it is to be represented by your head coach. So I don't know if you could maybe comment on that just a little bit more. What does it mean to have, Sarah Murray as your head coach?
Absolutely. I think Sarah is a wonderful example because she played Division I hockey, and then she went and played pro hockey, and she coached in the Olympics. That's like every girl's dream, like literally right there in a nutshell, is to go and play Division I, go and play pro if you have the opportunity, and then to compete in the Olympics. So for us to have Sarah as not only a coach, but like someone to go through that process and help us go through that process if we so choose, I think that's huge. She's able to relate with us, and she can kind of tell us her experience and what she went through, and then still coach us on, hey, I did this, so let's see if it works for you. I think it's really important to have someone that can coach you like on the ice, but also as a person and as like in academics and as an athlete, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you've kind of been in this battle with Jordan Keeley over the last couple seasons. Would you call yourself a mentor? Would you call yourselves rivals? How does that teammate relationship work?
Kind of like you said it, we're definitely competitors because there's only one net on the ice and only one of us gets to play. But we're definitely teammates in the sense that we want the best for each other. So if that means that she's playing and I don't get to, like, that's okay. I want what's best for the team, and I know that she does too. So I would say I'm a mentor just because I'm older, but I also learn a lot from Jordan too. She does a lot of things goalie specific that I wish that I did. And I think that she could probably say the same thing, that there's a lot of things that I do that she wishes that she could do. So it's a really nice relationship to have because we both support each other, but we're also competing for that same spot. So we hold each other accountable.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
And then just one last question before we get out of here. Thank you again so much. If this were to be a real season, I mean, not a real season, that's the wrong word, but if you were to have playoffs and national championships and stuff, where do you think this team would have finished in the MIAC if this was a typical season? There's the word, typical.
I would say normally we finish in the bottom top half. So like we're like that last team that makes playoffs. But with everything that we've done so far, I think that we could be top half, like 1 through 4. Even not having that playoff tournament, we're still competing for a MIAC championship because if we have the best record, we win. Like we win MIAC. So that's our ultimate goal. We have a lot of promising freshmen. So that's really exciting to see where they are now and how they're going to grow in the next couple of years. So I see really good things coming our way.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Congratulations again, Player of the Week. That's so awesome. And good luck as this season that is in flux right now continues to go on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.